All right. Well, it looks like the attendees are in. And so, uh, first and foremost, I would like to welcome everyone for joining us here this evening for the first of a series of information sessions that we're going to provide on several upcoming housing programs being sponsored by DeKalb County. So, greetings on behalf of Madam CEO Lorraine Cochran Johnson, as well as our Board of Commissioners. We're thankful and grateful that you are um, joining us this evening, and we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to learn about these exciting new developments that are upcoming for DeKalb County. So tonight is going to be hosted by myself, Dr. Alan Ferguson. I serve as the Chief Housing Officer for DeKalb County, as well as Tiffany Wills, who serves as Vice President for Redevelopment and Strategic Initiatives for Decide DeKalb Development Authority, our implementation partner in this endeavor. So we can go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, this is the first of a series of information sessions that we're going to have. And the purpose, behind these information sessions, and specifically tonight, is to learn, engage, and prepare everyone for homeownership opportunities. So tonight we'll be talking about the DeKalb HomeStart program, which is our new down payment assistance program that we are launching here in the county, hopefully very shortly. And we'll get into some of those details later. But we also have some upcoming sessions as well for our other three programs that I want to make note and make sure everyone's aware of. So on Wednesday evening, April 15th at 6 p.m., we'll have our introduction to DeKalb Brighter Home, which is our owner-occupied rehabilitation program for especially targeting our legacy residents. Next Tuesday, April 21st at 1:30 p.m., we'll have the introduction to our DeKalb Housing Catalyst program, which is our multifamily gap financing fund. And then on Thursday, April 23rd, we'll have an information session at 3 p.m. on our housing capacity building seed fund. So some very exciting initiatives coming down the pike here at DeKalb County. But before we get started, if you go to the next slide, I, having this audience, it's only right that I provide a reminder of one of our current activities that's underway, which is the development of our comprehensive housing plan. So this effort really kicked off in November of last year, November 2025. And some of you may have attended or even participated in the recent community conversations that we've had to really gain, resident and stakeholder feedback. Well, that process is still continuing, and there is still an opportunity for everyone to lend their voice in regards to what are the housing needs, the priorities, and where should we be focusing a variety of our activities in regards to opening up housing opportunity here in DeKalb County. And so that process is still underway. And if we could go to the next slide. Here you have information where you can learn more about the comprehensive housing plan. That QR code that will take you to a website, engagedecab.decalbcountyga.gov for the DeKalb County Comprehensive Housing Plan. I will say again, this process is really underway. It's about midway through the process. We're still gathering feedback from community stakeholders and residents. So please go to that website to learn more about the plan and also sign up for the newsletter that's attached. We'll be putting out additional announcements for additional community engagement sessions in regards to the plan hopefully by the end of the summer, we'll be coming back with a new round of community conversations to talk about the recommendations that we'd like to put forth before we finalize the plan. And there you see the great members of the project team that are leading that effort. So shameless plug for the community housing plan. Next slide, please. So we are here tonight to accomplish a couple of things. First and foremost, to introduce the DeKalb HomeStart program, which is our down payment assistance program. We want to share how it supports homeownership access, really, creating and opening up more opportunities for more DeKalb County residents and those who aspire to be DeKalb County residents to become homeowners here in DeKalb County. We'll definitely visit upon how the program fit our residents, and then also outline how, partners, real estate agents and brokers and lenders, and various other housing practitioners and those interested in supporting homeownership in DeKalb County can help us with this program and participate. So before we dive into it, just to kind of, set the stage, for everyone in regards to the homeownership challenges that DeKalb County faces. I think everybody is aware there's been a dramatic increase in home prices, home values, here in DeKalb County over the last several years. With that, along with increases in home prices, there have also been increasing rents, which limits the opportunity for households to save, to generate enough cash to put into their savings so they can afford down payments for these increasing home values. And so it seems as though in the preliminary research and everything that we've done, that having that down payment remains the largest barrier to a lot of people obtaining home ownership. And workforce households, really struggle, to enter the market because, as everybody's well aware of, we're in the midst of affordability crisis. And so everything costs more. And so there's less, funds remaining, at the end of the week, at the end of the month for people to devote towards saving, towards becoming a homeowner. So, here in DeKalb County, we, decided that we want to meet this challenge because when you don't address those challenges, you have, households that are delaying the homeownership opportunity, and with prices going up and up, their dream of homeownership gets further and further away. We also know and understand that home ownership is one of the fundamental pillars towards economic mobility. It allows households, to generate and create generational wealth, and that wealth can be transferred, to their heirs. Um, with the home. And so that has become that equity that gets built up really becomes an engine, if you will, for socioeconomic prosperity. People tap into their home equity to send, their kids to college, to get additional job training, to tap into that equity to start small businesses, to make other types of investments, a variety of different things to support their economic mobility. And so we really want to encourage homeownership here in DeKalb. And so with those missed opportunities for wealth building, you have, households who are trapped in cycles where they're unable to build any wealth at all, in a lot of cases. And so we want to try to launch this program to try to address some of those challenges. Next slide, please. So our response is, really to make what we call a strategic investment in home ownership. So the Home Start program, is really designed to, remove those upfront, financial barriers, to support, first-time home buyers, all, with the overall goal of, strengthening our neighborhoods and also attracting new residents and really new homeowners to DeKalb County as well. And we want to, really try to provide an opportunity for those who are renting in DeKalb to actually own in DeKalb. And especially if you work in DeKalb, we want you to own in DeKalb and be in a place not where you just work, but also you live and you enjoy a great quality of life. So next slide, please.
All right, so we are going to dive into the parameters of the Home Start program, eligibility criteria, also how others can get involved, the roles that both the home buyers, real estate agents and brokers and lenders play. Before I dive in, I do want to remind everyone that there is an option to submit a question in the Q&A prompt. If you don't see it on the bottom of your screen or in your app, there should be a button that has three dots and a circle. It says more. If you select that, you should see the Q&A that also has a question mark in a comment box. You can submit your questions there and we will either respond inside the Q&A or when we get to the end of the session, we'll address some of those questions verbally. So what is DeKalb HomeStart? So we're going to be providing financial support as a form of down payment that will cover a portion of your purchase price and also closing costs. It's going to be assistance to first-time home buyers, and we're going to define what exactly is a first-time home buyer for the Home Start program. And additionally, there will be an additional incentive for DeKalb County employees that are interested in applying for the program. Next slide. So who are our eligible home buyers? So first-time home buyers, renters that have never owned a home before, but they are ready to move into home ownership, workforce households, and individuals that are looking to relocate that don't currently live in DeKalb County and want to do that by purchasing a home. And I think, Ife, if you click the screen, there we go. So definition of a first-time home buyer for the Home Start Hope Home down payment assistance program is a buyer who has not owned a home in the past 6 months and they do not own any other residential property, or they only own one home that they will be selling prior to purchasing their new home. So one of the caveats is you will not be able to own multiple residential properties under this program. If you own a home, you have to sell that before you can purchase the new home, or you have not owned a home in the last 6 months. Next slide. So this program is going to have income limits because we are gearing these funds and directing these funds to homeowners that really have barriers to entering homeownership. So we will have income limits for the household, and those are based off of HUD's area median income for the Atlanta, Sandy Springs, Roswell metropolitan statistic area, which includes several counties throughout the region, and DeKalb County is one of those. We'll go over the income limits in a moment, but the eligibility tiers are households earning up to 120% AMI. So you could be at 70 or 80% AMI and qualify for the program. And then there's also a second tier, which is 121 to 140% AMI for county employees that are employed by DeKalb County. Next slide. So here are HUD's 2025 income limits for our AMI, for our MSA. I want to note that typically HUD releases the new AMI thresholds on April 1st every year. However, due to a lot of the federal government shutdowns, those AMI limits for 2026 are delayed and won't be released until May 1st. So these amounts are going to likely change next month, but this is just a starting point of reference that these are the current income limits based off of how many people live in your home, so your household size, and also what your AMI or your income salary range is. Next slide. So how much can home buyers qualify for home buyers that earn, the household earns up to 100% AMI, you can qualify for up to $20,000. For households with AMIs between 101 and 120% AMI, they can qualify for up to 15,000. For either one of these income thresholds, DeKalb County employees will receive a additional incentive of $5,000. So if they're in the 120% AMI range, then they would be eligible for 20,000. But if they are up to 100% AMI, DeKalb County employees can qualify for up to 25,000. Next slide. So, a part of the barriers to entry to homeownership is the extremely high cost of living. So, the program is really aimed to help homeowners keep their overall housing costs limited to 30% of their total income. And housing costs include your mortgage payment, property insurance, property taxes. If you live in a community that has a homeowners association or a condo association, it also includes those fees. So the goal is for home buyers to keep their housing costs up to 30% of their total income so that they can attain long-term sustainability and be able to maintain homeownership longer. Next slide. So where can you purchase a home with the HomeStart program? Anywhere in DeKalb County. We were very intentional in creating this program to reach all corners of DeKalb County. So if you have a property that is City of Brookhaven but is within DeKalb County limits, then you are eligible for the program. And of course, if you're an unincorporated DeKalb, you will qualify for that program. The types of homes that are going to be eligible are single family, townhomes, condominiums. It can be a new home, it can be an existing home. If you have a mortgage that allows for renovations to be included in the purchase of your home, that would also be an eligible property for the program. Next slide, please. So the purchase price limits, which means how much home can you purchase, the total acquisition or the total purchase price of the home cannot exceed $550,000. And that is in line with the Georgia Dream Mortgage Program. So we've designed the program to align with other existing mortgage programs and also down payment assistance programs that are already in the market. So this ensures that homes are going to remain affordable. It reflects the current market conditions, and these price limits are updated annually, just as the HUD income thresholds are also updated. Next slide. So our program structure, this is structured as a forgivable loan. It is 0% interest. You have no monthly payments, and it serves as almost a silent second mortgage. This can be layered with other down payment assistance programs. So if there is a Georgia Department of Community Affairs down payment assistance program that you're eligible for, you can layer with our HomeStart program. If you're purchasing a home that's within City of Atlanta limits, you can pair both City of Atlanta's down payment assistance program with our HomeStart program. So this is really opening up opportunities for home buyers to layer assistance to make their home as affordable as possible. Additionally, so long as you own the home and live in the home as your primary residence for the full 10 years, then at the end of the 10-year period, this loan will be completely forgiven. However, if you move or sell the home within the first 10 years, then the full amount of the down payment assistance has to be repaid from the closing or the sale of the home when you do sell. Next slide. So, what do home buyers need to do and to get ready for this program? First, I always recommend getting pre-approved by a lender so you know how much home you can afford or how much of a purchase price you'll be able to qualify for. Our program will require home buyer education courses, which can typically be done online, and you'll provide a certificate demonstrating that you've completed the course. Then it's time to identify and find your home in DeKalb County limits. And then once you've found the home and you've secured a lender, then you would apply for the Home Start program through Decide DeKalb. Once your application is received and processed and approved, then you can close on your new home. Next slide. So what role do lenders and also realtors, real estate agents play in these transactions? So the lenders, they're going to provide your mortgage pre-approval. They're the ones that are going to be underwriting and verifying your income. As a part of our HomeStart application, we will also verify your income as well to ensure you meet the program eligibility requirements. Your lender is going to coordinate with the Decide DeKalb team on the funding and closing, and your lender is also going to ensure that you're complying with affordability. For our brokers and realtors, they're going to assist with identifying eligible buyers. They're also going to be educating their buyers on our program outside of Decide DeKalb's information sessions as well. And they're also going to be supporting the buyers as they're working with lenders and Decide DeKalb to complete closing of the home. So for our lenders, hopefully our intent is that the Home Start program is going to provide enough funding assistance to expand their pool of qualified borrowers. A lot of agents often have clients that are trying to buy into DeKalb County, and currently there aren't down payment assistance programs that are available to support those transactions. So Home Start is created to really help fill that gap. It's going to reduce the cost and the cash that buyers are required to bring to closing to purchase their home. And also, it's going to increase loan origination opportunities by making available more transactions. For brokers, it's going to increase buyer readiness. Having more cash at closing often is one of the biggest hurdles of a home buying transaction. So, having additional down payment assistance is going to increase those opportunities. It's going to expedite closings and ultimately will expand real estate market activity as well. And Alan, I'll hand it back to you.
All right, great. Thanks, Tiffany. So I should, also mention that, we are open to, other, employer and institutional partnerships. You've heard Tiffany mentioned the additional incentive that we're trying to provide to DeKalb County employees, but we think that this is a really strong opportunity for employers to really kind of encourage their employees who don't reside in DeKalb or maybe renting in DeKalb to actually own a home in DeKalb, and so we look at it as a really strong benefit to employers who want to start an employee assisted housing program to help their employees live closer to work. The research has shown that it improves, retention, and is actually is very strong from a recruitment standpoint. And that's especially, true for those industries that are having a challenging time, finding and identifying talent. So it's something that can be very attractive. And then again, the potential to layer with employer-assisted housing, whether employers are providing a monthly stipend or even a contribution towards down payment assistance themselves. This is an opportunity to really enhance those programs. And so we're looking for those future opportunities for employers to come in and work with us and to start, employer matching contributions and to really support live where you work types of initiatives here in DeKalb County. Next slide. So from a program administration standpoint, and this really kind of, sets the stage, if you will, in terms of, how this works. So this is being brought to you by a partnership really between DeKalb County and Decide DeKalb Development Authority. So Decide DeKalb is the program administration and implementation partner. And so they're responsible for application review, eligibility verification, lender coordination, providing the Home Start funds at closing, and ongoing compliance monitoring. And from DeKalb County's standpoint, we're acting more so in the sponsorship role. So we will be monitoring the program performance. We'll approve program modifications because from time to time, as market changes, change, there may be an opportunity where we need to change some of the parameters around programs. And then also, continued resource funding. You heard me mention at the top of this presentation that this activity is being supported by the housing investment bond. So that is a resource that the county is supporting with its general fund to open up housing opportunity throughout DeKalb County in a variety of different areas. And so, as those resources get deployed, we'll continue to advocate for more and more resources, depending upon the success of the program, so that we can make sure that we, maintain what we think is going to be a very strong opportunity to create more home ownership in the county. Next slide, please. So what does success look like for us? It really comes down to, creating more opportunity, have more DeKalb residents becoming homeowners, stronger, more stable neighborhoods. There's a tremendous body of research out there that shows that, neighborhoods and communities that have a very strong homeownership element also have other aspects that really support a strong quality of life, lower, crime rates, better performance around local schools because you have, a population that has stickiness to it. And then it helps us on the economic development front in terms of attracting services and amenities and new retail, to areas throughout the county. Also, increased economic mobility. You heard me speak earlier about the opportunity, to own a home is one of the fundamental pillars here in the U.S. around, creating, how wealth and creating generational wealth, to pass on to your heirs, and as well as having, that equity that builds up in your home really provides an opportunity for homeowners to invest in other areas of their life that can improve and support economic mobility. And then, overall, this just leads to, greater, community investment. We, understand that, DeKalb County is a very diverse county, but not all the time does the investment flow in diverse ways. And so we want to make sure that we're opening up housing opportunities throughout the county, as well as other opportunities that you'll see coming forward in the next several months to really spur investment here in the county. So next slide. So, just an example of, what we're trying to create. So our, program fund that we're initially starting with this program is going to be a $10 million fund. We estimate that the average amount of assistance that homeowners will receive will roughly be about $18,000, considering some will be eligible up to 15,000, some will be eligible up to 20,000. And then if you're a DeKalb County employee, there's a $5,000 incentive attached with that. And we estimate the impact is that we'll be able to serve really over 500 homeowners over the next several years. And that translates into millions of dollars in, private mortgage financing, leverage capital that's coming into the county. And with that level of investment, we're going to use that as a lever to really trigger a variety of other aspects to improve the quality of life here in DeKalb County, such as additional, economic development opportunities. And as I mentioned, previously, the opportunity to bring additional services and amenities to our neighborhoods as well. So how can you get involved? So for residents, there are going to be, a series, and in fact, we're very close to opening up um, homebuyer education and financial literacy education here in DeKalb County. So you'll hear some news about that probably within the next 60 days of opportunities to attend homebuyer education. And so we encourage you to do that so you can be well prepared for the home buying experience as well as life after purchasing the home, which is critically important. Also, connecting with participating lenders. we anticipate having a number of conversations with lenders who are very much so interested in supporting this activity. And so there'll be opportunities to connect with those different lenders and mortgage brokers. And when the time comes, when we get ready to launch, really, being earnest about beginning the application process. We think this is going to be a very, popular program. And so we want to make sure that everyone is as equipped as much as possible, to participate in the application process. So for our partners and potential partners that are out there, those who are lenders, please, consider, becoming a participating lender or partner. Please help us promote this program. If, home buyers don't know about the program, then they won't take advantage of it. And we absolutely want them to take advantage of this program and this opportunity. And then also, I can't emphasize enough coordinating with Decide DeKalb. They're going to be our linchpin in all of this. And so coordinating with Decide DeKalb is going to be critical to the success of the program and ultimately the success of our home buyers. Next slide, please. So timeline and next steps. As I mentioned, this is an information series. We're here to actually engage in a little bit of conversation and get some feedback and some initial thoughts from you. But in terms of the process that we're following, there's going to be a release of an RFP, a request for proposals, for implementation partners, and that's going to be conducted by Decide DeKalb. That will be followed, with a program launch announcement. We'll be in the midst and in the process of creating an application portal. And so you can look forward to that application portal opening. And then we'll also engage in a series of events where we're going to have partner onboarding to make sure everyone is on the same page and fully understand the parameters of the program, the expectations, and how we intend things to operate. And so after that, the next phase will be, the initial rollout. But along with that, we're going to continue to monitor the program and how it operates, and we'll make adjustments as needed and as required to make it successful. And then hopefully, as we experience some success, there can be continued program expansion, allowing us to do a variety of different things within the down payment assistance space to really help and support our residents as well in their unique situations. So, again, this is the very beginning. We want to be here, to support our residents. And we think that the DeKalb HomeStart Down Payment Assistance Program is a great way to allow people to take that next step towards home ownership. So, for residents, it starts for you here, and for partners, again, join us in expanding access to opportunity, across DeKalb County. So if you haven't already, if you have any questions, feel free to share your questions in the Q&A chat. I think we are going to take a couple of minutes to answer some questions that have been offered. And so, uh, Tara, I don't know if you're going to read off the questions, or should I go in the chat and read them off?
Absolutely, Alan. I don't have a problem reading them for you
Sure.
if
Thank
that'll
you.
be helpful. And I know, Tiffany, thank you. I know that you've been in the chat also answering some of them, but let's go ahead and get started. I am very interested in this. Nancy L. is asking the question. She's actually saying, I would like to request additional information on how the DeKalb County Home Buyer Program supports individuals who have a fixed income and a lower credit score. Specifically, how does the program help applicants in these circumstances qualify for and successfully obtain home ownership? Can you guys, yeah, Tiffany, go for it.
Sure.
Oop, I probably jumped the gun on the button.
Well, I can offer up. one response, one answer is that, we're very much so interested in having a diverse group, a diverse body of lenders that, meet, prospective home buyers where they are. So hopefully many of you, on this webinar are aware of the recent events that we held with NACA, where we hosted and co-sponsored the Achieve the Dream event. We had an event in January that went actually very well, all things considered regarding, some of the iciest and coldest weather we've had here in years in Georgia. And then we recently had an event in March. Excuse me, pollen. But but NACA offers a a very unique mortgage program. They offer below market interest rate. They don't have any minimum income limits and they don't have any maximum income limits. However, they are very very astute at working with people, helping them navigate through the home owner process and helping them understand the amount of mortgage and the amount of home that they can afford according to their household budget. So I encourage, anyone to, in that particular situation where you're on a fixed income and you have limited means, to reach out to NACA. You can visit them at NACA.com. We're anticipating bringing them back to DeKalb County again for another Achieve the Dream event, probably in the early fall, maybe September timeframe. And there'll be more information publicized around that particular event as well, where you can actually come in, complete a home buyer workshop, go through NACA's process, and either get approved for a mortgage or leave with your plan to get approved for a mortgage all in one day. So that's just one of the options that we're, really looking forward to, providing to DeKalb County homeowners in conjunction with this down payment assistance program.
Yep, I've got a couple of family members that have recently gone through the NACA process, and one of them was solely just so they could understand where they were financially, how they needed to make some changes to prepare to, in 6 months or a year to then be ready to go into home ownership. And all of that was free. So I encourage individuals, if you're not sure if you're ready for home ownership or what you need to do to get ready for home ownership, how much do you need to have in savings? I absolutely encourage people to work with, if you don't have a financial advisor, work with an organization like NACA that will provide those services for free.
Thank you, Tiffany. I really think that was probably helpful for a lot of folks in the chat. And I am going to move on to Morningstar Urban Development. They had the question, or more, let's see, I think it's kind of comment and question, but most lenders require that no home ownership or interest in a home for the last 3 months, or sorry, 3 years. Do you all foresee this being an issue?
Yeah. So I imagine what you're talking about is other programs that are maybe first time home buyer, programs. And you're right. So there are programs out there who say that you can't, technically, you're not counted as a first time homeowner for them if you've owned a home within, the last, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. For us, we wanted to make sure that we were offering up this program with the greatest amount of flexibility possible. And so that's why we put forth a, 6 month that window through which you haven't, owned a home and that you can participate in a new, first time, home buyer program. If someone hasn't, owned a home, obviously, beyond 6 months, they wouldn't have any challenge, with eligibility. However, there are, excuse me, a number of households, here in DeKalb County where, we have legacy residents who are living in, kind of much more house than they currently need, given, where they are in terms of their life and their lifestyle, and they're looking for opportunities, to downsize. And then we also have, households that are, growing families, and they need additional space. And, they may own their current home, but they're looking for an opportunity to buy a larger home, but they need that financial assistance in order to get into a larger home to accommodate their family. And so we wanted to really set those parameters as flexible as possible so that we could serve a broader spectrum of potential homeowners with this program.
Very good. Thanks, Ellen. I'm going to move over to Janine Hunter, who is, I think, asking, she may be a county school employee. And she is asking, will DeKalb County school employees qualify for the additional $5,000?
No, unfortunately, this is a program that we are, that's focusing on DeKalb County employees. However, um, we are very much so interested in working with DeKalb County Public Schools and in the instance, maybe Decatur Independent School District, if they're interested in launching any type of program that could support home ownership for teachers, staff, administration, so on and so forth, here in DeKalb County. There's a tremendous amount of benefit that comes from, people who, really serve our community in the education space, also living in those same communities through which they reside. And so well, the door is wide open for partnership with DeKalb County Public Schools to work with them on a collaborative program where they can offer an incentive to pair with this program to help enable home ownership for DeKalb County employees. But with that notwithstanding, as long as you meet the income requirements, eligibility requirements of the program, you will be eligible to apply, for the down payment assistance regardless of your employer.
I am going to mention this, Alan and Tiffany. For those questions that we do not get to, we are actually going to add these to a Q&A or a Q&A sheet that we're going to have posted afterwards. So everybody that is participating this evening, we are going to we'll send you an email to let you know that if we don't get to your question, here are some answers. So I just want to make that clear because I know we are limited on time this evening. Want to make sure everybody can get out at a decent hour. And I'm going to move on to another question, and that is going to be from, oh goodness, excuse me, guys. That is going to be from Ebony Killian. She is asking, is there a liquid cash reserve cap that potential home buyers cannot exceed? Can you guys talk about whether or not there is a liquid cash reserve cap?
So we actually have not set any guidelines or any parameters around a liquid cash, reserve, cap. We have talked about it and we are taking that into consideration. And so I would encourage, those, practitioners who are in the profession, if you could share information around best practices and what's really worked as far as those types of parameters, we'll be more than happy to receive those and incorporate them appropriately into the program.
Awesome. There is an anonymous attendee on tonight's call who is asking, will applications be accepted from first come, first served? Are families going to be prioritized over child-free couples or single people? Can you guys give a bit of clarity to how applications will be processed?
Yeah, applications are going to be, processed, kind of, first come, first served. There's not going to be any type of preferences in regards to, individuals, two-person households, households with multiple members, or anything like that. I think that's actually against fair housing laws, to do that.
Right.
Uh, but so there's not going to be any type of, preferences or guidelines, set according to those measures. There's, the income eligibility requirements, and then there are the other things that, we outline in regards to eligibility, but we intend to address applications on a first come, first served basis.
Thanks, Alan. I am reading from Tamar Harrison. She actually is confirming about NACA. that Commissioner Terry is working to host a homebuyer workshop with NACA on July 11th and September 12th. So just putting that out for anyone who may be interested. That might be some good information for those folks that are maybe a year away from being a homeowner, getting everything in order. So those dates again, July 11th and September 12th. I'm looking at another question from BJM, and this person is asking, there are two people in my home. Does both have to be approved in order to go through the process? I think I know the answer to that, but I'm going to
So they
lean on.
don't have to both be approved for the mortgage itself, but when we do the income eligibility verification, we will take into consideration the entire household income. So you can have one person purchasing the house and being on the mortgage, but as far as our program's concerned for income eligibility, we do take the household combined income.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that uh, here's a very positive note. Shanda Laws says, this is not a question, but I just wanted to say that I am very excited about this pending program. Thank you for the thoughtfulness around it, and I can't wait to spread the word. So thank you, Shanda. We will need your advocacy, and we look forward to also this rolling out very soon here in DeKalb County.
And there's an interesting question from Janine Hunter that I might need a little bit more clarification. The question is, what is the maximum lien position for the program? Is that saying what lien position will HomeStart take, or how many liens are in the transaction, whether it's a mortgage, HomeStart, and maybe another DPA source? Maybe she can put it in the chat. We'll give her a few minutes and see if she's able to clarify in the chat or add another question, and we will come back to that.
I think she says yes, Tiffany. She's saying yes.
So which position we would take, Alan, I'll leave that up to you if there's
Yeah,
another source of DPA.
yeah, it typically runs according to lien priority typically runs according to when it comes to taking advantage of the down payment assistance programs, the expiration dates of the tenures. So there are, some programs where you can get down payment assistance and those amounts may be, a grant or instantly forgiven at closing. So they really don't have a lien position, per se, because they've kind of been taken out of the mix. But then there are other programs that have 5-year limitations, 7-year limitations, 10-year limitations and beyond. And so they typically layered in the order of those lien positions so that the down payment assistance that has the longest tenure is typically has the lower lien priority because it runs the longest length of time.
Thanks for that. You guys tag team that one well. We do have, and I know it's 6:50. This might be our last question, you all, if you guys are ready to close it out. But we have a question from an anonymous attendee this evening who is basically saying that New Life, there on Candler, is in Flat Shoals is having an annual event in June, and they are basically saying, would you all consider supporting that event? They have it, they'll be partnering with someone else, but if the program is ready by June, would we consider partnering with that or with them?
So it depends on what you mean by seriously. It depends on what you mean by partnering with them. Definitely, if we're in a position to come out and share information about the program and disseminate that, we'll be more than happy, to do so. If you're looking for sponsorship opportunities, that comes in through a different avenue. And so, if you're looking for sponsorship opportunities, you can feel free to to reach out to me. You can actually, have New Life reach out to me. I'm very intimately familiar, with them, as an organization, and we can understand what a sponsorship opportunity looks like, and if we're able to support in that aspect. But if you're asking, is there an opportunity for us to be present? Depending on where we are, come June, then definitely we'd be interested in coming out and sharing more information with the public and the community about this homeownership opportunity and other opportunities as well in DeKalb County.
I think a little bit of clarification was provided, Alan, and the anonymous attendee basically said, just sharing information about that particular event, spreading the word and promoting them the same way that we do with NACA. So yes,
Oh,
I think that's definitely feasible and doable. All right, I'm going to say that that is all the questions for this evening. Someone did actually ask when the recording will be posted. Miss Princello White, I think we are going to we're gonna get this all squared away. And we will likely email this back out, the link out to everyone. But be on the lookout. I would just say from either Decide DeKalb and or the county, and just be, very diligent about paying attention to your inbox. It will likely be within the next couple days that we'll have it ready and edited and beautiful for you, including those Q&As that we did not maybe get to that might require a little bit more time from Tiffany and from Dr. Ferguson. I
Yep,
think that's
and
fair.
I will make a point to post the link to the recording on both my LinkedIn page, and I'll work with Tara to get the Decide DeKalb Development Authority LinkedIn page to post the link to the recordings as well.
Great idea. Yes. Utilizing social media. And if you are not following the county or Decide to Cap, please do so. As you can imagine, lots of really great information and updates are being shared across both platforms and both organizations. We're super excited about all of this really great information. There are a handful of more panels. I think Tiffany or Dr. Ferguson, if you guys want to reiterate some of the other, there you go, some of the other panels that are coming up that might actually be that might be of interest. But definitely follow us on all of the social platforms. Instagram, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn for sure, and Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. And and again, tonight was the first information session, for a number of programs that we're going to discuss over the next 2 weeks. On Wednesday evening at 6 p.m., we're going to talk about the DeKalb Brighter Home program, which is our owner-occupied rehab program. We have a number of legacy residents and a number of homeowners that are living in older properties. And one of the best ways that you can address housing affordability is to try to help and support people to stay and remain in their homes and keep them well maintained and in good repair. And we believe that provides a fantastic return on investment for DeKalb County, because not only does it maintain and support home values and strengthens communities, but it also makes sure that we don't deal with situations where folks are challenged by code compliance and continuing blight. And so we're very, very excited about that opportunity as well to share information on that program this coming Wednesday evening. And on Tuesday, April 21st, that's in mid-afternoon, 1:30 p.m., we're going to talk about the DeKalb Housing Catalyst program. That's a multifamily gap financing loan fund program. Again, we're doing in partnership with Decide DeKalb, our implementation partner, as well as on Thursday, April 23rd at 3 p.m. We're going to have an information session on our housing capacity building seed fund, which is one of the approaches we're seeking to help build capacity here in DeKalb County that's homegrown, if you will, to help us meet the rising housing challenges and encourage and open up more housing opportunity here in DeKalb County. So you can look forward to those next 3 sessions over the next week and a half. All right. And
All
if
right.
you have any questions, oh, I forgot to mention the email address. You can always email us at housing@decidedecab.com. That's housing@decidedecab.com. You can email us your questions and we'll be able to respond there as well.
Great information, you all. Thank you. And thanks, participants. We'll certainly be in touch in the coming days with that link and with more information, but definitely use that email if you have any more information or questions for Tiffany and for Dr. Ferguson. Thank you all so much.
Thank
Yes,
you. Have
thank
a
you.
great
Thanks,
evening.
everyone. We appreciate you. Thank you.